All right. Well, good afternoon, Lydia. Thanks so much
Hi,
for joining me.
hi, Sarah. Thanks for having me.
So Lydia, every single time we do this, we're like, oh, we're going to keep it nice and short and clean. But now again, there's just so much going on, right?
Yes,
And
absolutely.
you and I talk all the time, kind of like, hey, did you hear about this? What about this? Is this it? And if we are struggling to be like, what? Where's this? Was this been extended? Kind of, we know that was on top of it as we attempt to be. We know that the typical consumer or renter homeowner is struggling to keep up with this, and so I kind of put
Right.
together a really brief overview of some of the things that we're looking at, just to
Good.
see kind of if if we can help get it all to understood, because right now there's so much policy coming out in DC. There's so much just impacting housing. And so some of the biggest things that are coming out that are, right now is we've been hearing about the proposed infrastructure bill that actually it's $1 trillion bill. It has passed the Senate. It's going on to the House for more negotiations. So we'll see. We'll probably be seeing what that looks like in the coming weeks or months. I don't know how long it takes.
Right.
A new $3.5 trillion social infrastructure bill has been announced, and that's been announced in the Senate. So then we're going to go through that whole negotiation thing again. This one actually does encompass a lot of housing, including a down payment assistance program. So we're going to keep watching that one, see what that looks like. One of the ones that Lydia and I did spend a lot of time talking about was the eviction ban. It was extended. We were kind of thinking it would be, but weren't sure. And it was extended after, kind of retroactively. So what we're looking at right now is through October 3rd. It is
And that's for the lease people.
Yes, for renters,
Yes.
exactly.
Renters. Yep.
And this has really created quite a buzz. It doesn't cover quite as substantial. It's about 90% of the renters versus 100% of the renters. It's, it was the CDC that extended that. Rather than, it is a hot topic. There is a lot of people on both sides with a lot of very strong opinions. I expect that we will see a lot more lawsuits coming out, and we'll kind of be watching it, but right now there's just a whole lot of noise around it. And right now it's October 3rd. We don't know what it'll look like. We know with the Delta variant is kind of impacting things in a very not good way.
Yes.
So we'll leave it at that. The one thing that did happen that I do want to touch on is the foreclosure ban was lifted at the end of July. And so it did not create a foreclosure frenzy, as the CFPB has implemented very strict foreclosure process for lenders and servicers. So it is likely we won't even see very many foreclosures until closer to the end of the year.
Right.
And then, and we got to keep in mind, there's always foreclosures. Right? There's always foreclosures going on. The ban that lasted roughly 18 months has really created a backlog. So when we kind of think about the average number from 2019 or 2017 through 2019, there's an average about 290,000 foreclosures a year, which would give us from the freeze of where we've been, we're behind by about 432,000 foreclosures that are just going to be backlogged. So given that, we know that there are some, and these are all national numbers, but when you think about it, and the home appreciation on a national level, homes year over year have appreciated about 17% year over year. That's a lot, and that's going to give a lot of people a lot of benefit when it comes to needing to sell. Here locally in Phoenix, we're running at about a 27% appreciation rate year over year. So it's going to give borrowers even more options. Some of the numbers I kind of thought was interesting too is nationwide, it's estimated that only 4% of borrowers are upside down on their house, about 25% or more. And that's actually a decline from last year's 6%. So that is I don't want to say very small, but it's not a giant group of borrowers that would really be in that position. And maybe they don't need to sell. I mean, a lot of people were in a position of being upside down, and okay, they still need a place to live. They can afford their payments. They're going to continue on. So here's one of the things though that I want to add in. That was national. The report, actually, I'm going to read straight from the report. It says equity gains in Arizona were particularly extreme. In the first quarter of the year, 16% of mortgaged homes in the state were considered equity rich. And this is according to ADAM data. In the second quarter, that number rose to 40%. So when we're even talking about equity positions here in Arizona, I mean, we're in really good shape. We just don't know what those numbers are going to look like. And
Right.
I do have a chart, and I'll make sure that I include it. I can do a little quick screen share right now. Let me see, where did it go? Always, where's my screen share? Right here, right in front of me. So this one is actually going to kind of show on that average that I was talking about and how just low we are on the foreclosure spectrum from what we've been up against, even just in the last few years.
Right.
And want to kind of, so there's a lot with that. We're going to continue watching what the foreclosure numbers look like. On to the forbearance numbers, that has continued to decline. We're down about 3.4% of loans are in forbearance, and that's about 1.7 million borrowers. When we look at it by stage, 9.7% of total loans are in their first or their initial forbearance plan stage. That has declined a little bit. Remember, they are 3 to 6 months long. So despite having the forbearance window has closed, people are still going to be in their initial stage.
Right.
In the extension group, it's been the biggest group from the beginning, or not from the beginning, but few months in anyway,
Right.
is just under 83% are on extension, and 7.4% are re-entries. So we're still going to be, we're continuing to watch them. There's a lot of people that are then going to be coming out of forbearance because they're not in that initial stage, so they will be having to exit. And then speaking of those exits, 43.7% of borrowers can, of the ones that have actually exited since June 1st through August 1st, that's 43.7%, either continued making their payments, were caught up upon exiting, or paid off their loan with a refinance or sale at exit. So, we're looking at that group is continuing, it's a big chunk of them. The percentage of exits for the group that we're most concerned about are the borrowers that exited their forbearance plan, still behind on their payments and without a loss mitigation plan in place. That number has remained flat at 15.7%. So as we look at the coming forbearance exits, there are actually quite a few planned. September is expected to be the largest month of exits. And I'm going to go ahead and do a little quick share on that one as well. So if we look at this chart, this is talking about, the different expirations that are coming up. We've got September's right here is pretty significant.
Yep.
We'll be watching to see how many are extended and how it really kind of falls in place, but it's pretty powerful numbers.
Right.
And of course, I did read this, and I've been reading a lot of where are we with people who are behind on their mortgage or on their rents, and it's really hard to get that data. So just kind of keep it in mind. When you hear anything, take it with a grain of salt. We don't know, but I thought that these numbers were pretty kind of spot on. And it's through, and this is according to the Mortgage Bankers Association, through the end of Q2 2021, we saw some big improvements of under 5 million, both renters and borrowers were delinquent or behind on their payments. So that's a huge improvement. It's looking at 2.86 million are behind on rent, and 2.19 million are behind on their mortgage payments. And these are humongous increases. And again, nationwide numbers. So as we watch the, kind of how things fall into place, there will be some foreclosures, not a huge wave. There will be some, people who are struggling. Definitely people have options. Lydia and I talk about this quite a bit. The options are significant and they're still available. And, we are just going to keep watching as things shift. And I know Lydia, like I said, we've been talking a lot. Lydia, what you're seeing with your servicer that you're working with, and even the requests you're getting, those are.
Yeah, it's been very interesting. So like you and I've talked about in the past, it's really important for the homeowners to discuss with their servicer their exit strategy, because if they don't do that, they won't have a say in how they go about doing it, and the servicing companies will make that decision for them. So it's really, really important for us as agents. I know we didn't cause this issue, but we really need to get with our database and explain to families, if you did a forbearance, let's discuss it with your servicing company. Let's get you the best option, so, but on the servicing side of things, of course, I've been doing home inspection, drive-by inspections for the last year and a half since
Right.
COVID
The whole
hit.
time. The whole time.
Yeah, this whole time, yes. And they've slowly been getting more and more and more. The quantity has been increasing. Last week, there was 50 plus drop in a 2-day period of BPOs. And they're all not.
And that's a number you haven't seen yet.
In a long time. Yeah. Been a very long time. So I happened to be on vacation, and of course, as a realtor, I brought my computer and I started, I have an assistant now, and so we've been trying to get some of these BPOs taken care of. But long story short, they're not all iBuyers that are buying, because I know some of the inspections I'm doing were for iBuyers, and that is still continuing. But it is definitely other types of corporate people that we're doing these inspections for, besides the fact that some of the banks want to know what the values are of folks that they're concerned about that might potentially go into foreclosure. The hope is that if they do get a foreclosure notice, that they do reach out to either you or I, Sarah, or to their own realtor person, and that person can kind of educate them. Or we do have real estate attorneys that can also help them along the way as well. Because like you said, there's so much equity in our homes now. And this isn't just, we have a lot of equity here in Arizona, but in other states, they too have a lot of equity, and they too have had shortages. So if someone can't get caught up for whatever reason, it's really important that they sell their home now and they take some of that equity and they're able to pay off what they have to pay off and just move forward and regroup before they move back into a home. So, but as far as that, other than that, it's been pretty quiet as far as the asset managers have not said anything yet about the coming foreclosures. There are coming foreclosures, like you said. Some of them were in the pipeline before and they were stopped with COVID, and those are going to continue on. Yeah. But, there's a lot of uncertainty. And as a mother of a nurse, with everything going on right now, we just don't know what's going to happen with this new variant. Is it going to cause, shutdowns? Is it going to slow things down? Is the government going to do any additional? And that's why, I'm so glad that we're doing this every other week now, Sarah, because we are there's so much information right now, and some of it is not accurate. So we're trying to get the majority of the most accurate information out there to the homeowners and to the realtors so that they can educate their own client base. So it's really, really important that we all, take the information and make sure what we're giving to our clients and our homeowners is the most accurate information.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially because there's so much older data out there that's just, okay, fine, that used to be the case, but it's not anymore. So it's really about finding the legitimate sources and having things that, just make it so you can speak with an educatedly, kind of know what you're talking about, because it's confusing.
And sometimes I think they make it confusing, and if it's confusing to you and I, and we actually understand what's going on, can you imagine the homeowners and the realtors that don't know? There are still realtors that don't even know what a forbearance is and how they even work. And even though it's the lending side of things, we need to educate ourselves so we can help our client base, because that really, we should be the person that they come to ask for advice on what to do. And we need to be educated ourselves to know how to give them their options, because right now there are still options for people.
Absolutely. And that's the bottom line. There's still options. Yeah. So, do your homework, come to us. We're here to help.
Yep. Yeah. Exactly.
Absolutely. Well, as always, Lydia, I appreciate you and your insight, just, giving us inside scoop on what's going on out there, because crazy.
It is crazy. And we will definitely keep on top of everything. There's ever changing. You and I constantly share information each day as it comes out.
No
and
doubt.
what to discuss. And so we will definitely keep on top of it so that we can help all the other agents and homeowners out there.
Definitely. Well, thanks again, and I'll be talking to you
Thanks, Karen.
soon.
Okay, have a good week.
Bye, you too.
Bye-bye.